and welcome to episode 182 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I will be your host, but just for tonight, because Pete was very busy this past weekend for very good reasons with some family matters and whatnot. However, I will say, Pete, you are looking very sharp this evening with that new computer. Anyway, I'm your host, Howard Kravitz. Just for tonight's Tuesday night show, Pete will be the host, and of course, he's with us anyway going forward. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. And after you do that, smash that notification bell, which will tell you when new content will rise in the show. And also smash that thumbs up button. We'd really appreciate your support. Of course, you can see on both of our name tags, we have our Twitter handles there. Mine is at HKravitz. Pete is at PVisco28. And then, of course, the email just passed me by. Up there it was on the bottom of the screen. H. Kravitz Horse. I should have made Pete say what it was for his little file from last week. H. Kravitz Horse.
Still can't remember it.
That's about right. H. Kravitz Horse at gmail.com. You can also see on the bottom of the screen. Very excited. You can see it right there at the bottom. This Thursday, Jason Blewett. I'm a big fan. I've met him several times, Pete. He has done a great job, first with Naira. Then he went down to Gulfstream for their simulcast. And now he works for West Point Thoroughbreds. And I've heard they have a share of a pretty good horse that's going to be in the Breeders' Cup. We'll talk about that horse called Flightline. And he's going to help us also handicap the fantastic late pick 5 big Breeders' Cup prep races this weekend at better known as Royal Aqueduct, but we'll just call it Belmont at Aqueduct this weekend. Pete, as I talk about a few other things, why don't you say hello, and I'll just actually I won't say anything. I'll just bring up some banners at the bottom of the screen.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Sorry, Howard has to host in my place this week, but it was my son Jackson's birthday on Saturday, and he's popped up on the show a time or two, and he turned 11 on Saturday, so a quick shout out to Jackson and his 11th birthday. The weird part was we were actually in a hotel basically right next to the Meadowlands, and I didn't get to go for the first time up in Jersey in years. I haven't gone to the Meadowlands when I was there, but I could see the track, so it was tantalizing enough. And there was you'll appreciate this, Howard. We were staying in the hotel right next to MetLife Stadium, and on Monday when we were leaving, Lawrence Taylor was there, giant, great, wow, who was hanging out in the lobby, taking pictures with people and stuff. So that was kind of cool.
Oh, that very cool. He was not the best linebacker of all time. I'm a little biased to several Bears linebackers.
Sure.
We can't do quarterbacks, but as Kyle Roscoe knows, we can do linebackers.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can listen to us, of course, the Power Picks. Hopefully you guys like the new logo, the new presentation. We also had Pete and Paul's ABCs, and we have to congratulate our good friend Paul Halloran when he bring him on, Pete, for his excellent pick 5 score. We'll let him talk about that in a little bit. We also have a fantastic website that everyone knows about and many other things. Check below the video player for all of our promos. Let's go ahead and bring on my our fantastic other co-host, and we have to come up with a name other than 100% or Prince of Arlington or contributor. We'll have to think of something. Let's bring him on right now. Paul Halloran from the Saratoga Special and Kyle Roscoe. Guys, the gang's all here. How are we doing tonight?
Excellent.
What's doing about as good as I can be.
Wonderful. Paul, give a little shout out for your pick 5 score on Saturday.
Well, thank you, Howard. After a very long and frustrating Saratoga meet, I was about to have I went 4 for 5 again t-shirts made since I did it approximately 20 times at Saratoga. So, it was a nice little hit. And, as I said before we came on the air, people get aggravated when other people talk about their wins. But I would just say this. We talk a lot about ticket structure, which I'm not good at. But the ABC method, I just, that society seemed to be the universal knockout horse that I just threw in as a C, and in a million years would not have used on a caveman ticket. And, was just lucky enough that I was able to get 4 A's in the other legs, and one of them being Scaramouche, who was a pretty good number. So, score 1 for the ABCs.
Absolutely. Yeah. Congratulations. That's a really nice. What was it? 1,200. It paid even more than I thought. I think.
It was kind of funny. It was the element of surprise, Howard. None of us could find the will pays. You were looking. I was there. I was on track, and I couldn't get them. So I was actually hoping for 1,000, but yeah, it was 1,269.
Yeah. Lon, as I said, Lon, thanks for joining the show. Penn State Scott. If you mean are all of us going to be there, I will be at the Breeders' Cup. Kyle Roscoe, is that a yes, Kyle? Is that you want to publicly say yes?
Yeah, I will be there.
Wow. Okay, that's actually breaking news to me that it's a confirmation. Kyle will be there. Pete, I don't think you'll be there. Paul, you were hedging, maybe, probably not.
It's likely not, but I would never rule it out.
Okay, so Scott, if you're going to be there, that's cool. Then you can meet up with Kyle and myself for sure. We'd love to meet you. Matthew Chimura, by the way, still wants that shirt, Paul. I'm not sure.
It's a good idea.
If he's referring to something that you just mentioned, but anyway. All right, guys, we got a bunch of things to talk about, and then we also let's not bury the lead. Bri Mott from Stable Duel. If you're not familiar with Stable Duel, it's a really fun sort of fantasy horse racing game that I play a decent amount. That I enjoy very much. Bri Mott will be coming on the show to talk about that and many other things. She's an excellent follow on Twitter also. She'll be here in about 25 minutes or so. Guys, let's jump right to it. We want a quick recap of the race from this weekend. It'll be a little quicker. There's a lot of news, a lot of things that I have in the hopper. I've got like 10 different things written down that I'd like to get to. So we're not going to talk very long about the two races at Parx. We obviously need to mention them. Let me go ahead and bring up right now, of course, the PPs from first the Pennsylvania Derby, of course, won by Taba. Paul, as Mr. Pick 5, let's go ahead and show the race, guys. Let me take the banner off here. I'm going to show the race, and we'll just go ahead and voice over it. Anything you guys want to mention, we can just sort of rotate through the race. Paul, I'll let you go first. Taba was actually bet down pretty much to even money. Surprising. Taba's the 8. Why don't you go ahead and take it from the break here as Taba ends up winning over Zandon in the Pennsylvania Derby?
Yes, he actually drifted up a little, Howard. When I was talking to you
7 to
from
5,
Nevada,
actually. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, he drifted up a little, but he did go 7 to 5. And, you could see Mike Smith gets him into position. And right here, it looks like he's going to just go right to the lead. But Smith wisely doesn't get into a peeing contest with White Barrio, who now, oddly enough, Simplification is the 9 there. And the word is that Antonio Sano was very upset with Paco Lopez, who was instructed to go to the lead.
Really?
And as you saw that develop, he absolutely could have had the lead if he wanted to, because he was inside. Everyone was inside of White Barrio. So Sano, the word is, was not happy with the ride.
And Paul would know, folks, if you weren't with us on Saturday. And by the way, thanks to everyone that was with us. We had a huge audience Saturday. I'm sure you guys saw the numbers. Paul, you were there Saturday. For people that don't know, so you had inside info there from Sano.
Yeah, I just heard it actually. I don't know if it was after the race or it may have even been the next day, but that was part of the follow. But as you can see, right now there's really no change. And, Smith is inside here, and that really wasn't necessarily the place to be. But you'll see on the turn, he's going to, right when our horse, We the People, drops out of it, Howard, he opens the door for Smith to tip wide, and right here it's over.
And Pete, here's Zandon on the inside, making another good quality run. I thought Cyberknife right here flattened out Pete, and they pretty much did what I thought he would do. I know a lot of people liked him, though, Saturday.
Yeah, I still think I get the feeling that they still don't know how to ride or how to run or where to place Cyberknife sometimes, because he goes from being on the front. This one, I thought he was a little too far back. It wouldn't have made a difference, but I think with that horse, I think they just feel like they're still trying to figure out what his best race is and his best position in a race. But yeah, Zandon was impressive. He just, as usual, he can't seem to beat these fields, and he always seems to lose to the better horse. But he runs his race, and you see right there on the screen, 100, then 105, 103 buyers. So he's consistently in that 100, now moving up towards that mid 105 range. So, he's a player. I don't think he's a classic winner threat by any stretch, but I think he's someone who could easily hit the board for sure.
I think he's done, Pete. I think
is he done?
For the
oh,
year.
is he?
Yeah,
he's not going to the Classic?
I think I heard somewhere where Chad said that they're going to gear toward a 4-year-old campaign.
Oh,
He has
okay.
not missed many dances, that horse.
No, not at all. Not at all.
He
Makes
has
sense.
6 starts this year, which these days is a lot. In 6 starts in 9 months is a lot these days.
Plus,
Did that
it
just
maybe
come out
doesn't.
today,
Maybe you don't want to
Paul?
go.
Because
You
I
don't want to go face those monsters. Sorry,
I
Howard.
heard about it on Sunday, Howard. I'd love to give proper attribution to where I
heard he might
about
go
it.
to the dirt mile if anywhere. That's what I heard. Cyberknife, I haven't heard any information on. Well, let's go to Kyle on this. Kyle, if you, of course, Chad knows Xander much better. Classic dirt mile, rest him up. He's done enough this year. What do you do with Cyberknife? What do you do with these horses that finish behind Taba, Kyle, in your opinion?
Well, yeah, I can definitely see both arguments in regards to Zandon. I mean, you and I have both touted that we think that he'd be better on a kind of turn back, and being Keeneland being the two turn dirt mile this year, I think even suits that horse a little more. But again, like Paul said, he's ran 6 races in 9 months. He's come in the money pretty much every single one of them, if I'm thinking correctly. He's cashed his tickets. He's done really well. I mean, I could definitely see the prospect of shoveling him up and gearing up for a 4-year-old campaign. In regards to Cyberknife, I mean, I was actually really surprised in that race that they didn't really give him that much respect. He actually floated up past Zandon. I think he went off at 9-2, 4-1, somewhere around there, and it was actually, I think Zandon went off at 3-1. So that was a little bit interesting to me. But again, as Pete touched on, I don't really understand. I mean, I'm obviously Brad Cox is one of the best trainers in the nation right now, and he knows the horse way better than us. But I agree with Pete that it's kind of weird that they don't really know what he likes to do the best, whether they like to really use his tactical speed, because he's shown that he does have it, even though at Saratoga there was no speed in that race, but he still has some tactical speed that he has shown that he can use. But sorry, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to mention Andy Bukowski. We got a lot of guys. I can't tell you how pleased we all are of so many new viewers we've gotten recently, whether it be from the live show or others. We love seeing names of people we've not seen before in the chat. So Andy, welcome to the show. Matthew Schmurr is saying Cigar Mile. I don't know if he's saying that's where they're going to go or that's where he thinks they should go. I'd be fine with that spot too, Paul, right? That'd be fine. Paul, we lost
Paul,
your sound.
You're on mute, Paul.
I think you muted, Paul.
I think that's the most likely scenario.
Okay.
One turn Cigar Mile.
That's where he would go. We'll
no,
see.
But that's probably is a better possibility than him running in the Breeders' Cup.
Pete, let's finish the conversation with Taba. I don't know if you guys saw. I put out a poll on Twitter, and let's see what people thought. There were many people contributed to my the Twitter poll, so I appreciate that. Let me ask you guys, without even looking, the question, if you didn't see it, I said, where will Taba finish the Breeders' Cup Classic? And the choices are top 3 or out of the money. Pete, before I showed up, what would be your guess of what people, the public thought on Twitter? What percent in the money, 1% out of the money would you say? Your opinion, what people say.
Yeah, I'd probably say about 65% in the money. Ooh, not bad.
Pretty darn close.
Not bad.
So the general thought is, now again, I sent this out, everyone loves the recency angle, right, Pete? I mean, I sent this out literally like 2 hours after the show on Saturday. The majority of the people think Taba will finish in the money. If you think Taba's going to finish in the money, I don't mean you, I mean the public. Yeah. That means he's probably beating Epicenter, unless you think Epicenter is third. He's going to beat most of the older horses. People are very high on Taba right now. He did get a 108, Pete. I mean, I don't know if he can win the race, but he's sort of trending in the right direction. That's for sure.
I mean, I think I'm looking at I have odds checker up just so we can reference it if we need to. And I mean, Flightline obviously is by far in his own class. Then you have probably Life is Good and Epicenter, maybe together. I don't know. It depends how you feel about those two. Then after that, it's wide open. So if one of those, we've seen Life is Good fade a bit. I mean, Epicenter would be, going against a pretty tough field. Who knows? I mean, it wouldn't put it past me to see Taba in second relatively easily. I mean, right now they have him this is weird. They have him as the 6th or the co-5th choice with Art Collector, which he's much better than Art Collector at 12-1, which would be nice. I'd take him in a Flightline Taba Exacta if he was 12-1. I would love that.
I think Art Collector will go to the dirt mile anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, we could talk about this for a while, but A very impressive effort by Taba, winning at 7-5. Kyle, I'm going to have you start with the next race here and bring it up right here. Of course, this is the one that knocked you, me, Pete, not Paul, because Paul's smarter than the average bear, of course. Knocked out a lot of people, I know, the pick 5. You can see that Society, this is, of course, the Cotillion, paired up those 100s. She's very well-bred. She's by gun rudder out of a Tappet mare, so you think distance is not an issue. You see Maureen Macha was a big surprise second there for Paco, who had one hell of a day. We'll just let this roll through. Shout out to Jessica Paquette, Kyle, also, who touted Society when Paul brought her on, and she certainly ran to her looks.
Yeah, and on a whim too. She just all of a sudden Paul puts her on and she just gives the winner. Man, that's must be nice.
Hey,
to be
Kyle, I don't bring just anyone on.
That's right. That's right. But I mean, she just outbreaks the entire field here, and that's what, if you're her connections, that's exactly what you want her to do in a spot like this, because that's the one way that she's going to be able to get away from this field, as she actually does going into the far turn. But Adair Manor tracking in second. A lot of people were high on her, as me and Howard were. She was working really well up into the race, and
she was awful.
I mean, yeah,
awful.
There's no way to put that. I mean, just absolutely awful.
Stinky.
Absolute stinker. But Green Up is in third. I mean, we got the trip he thought he would, Howard. I mean, he's by himself. I did it.
Hold on, we gotta bring
one every time.
Pete, hold on a second. Pete,
Drink,
you and I
Kyle.
have to talk after the show, because these two yahoos down here keep effing that up. Can we please have respect for the sexes of the horses?
They're gonna get us canceled, Howard.
The race is going on. My bad.
Tuesday.
Go ahead, Kyle. No, you want Kyle?
Fine.
You're out. Paul, Green Up made a move.
Yeah, but you know what, Howard, and I was with you. But at 9-5, there may be horses who have been more overbet in history, but none come to mind.
Well, she was 3-1 going to the post, Paul. That was crazy.
I understand. And even then, that was probably what we expected. We knew she wasn't going to go 6-1.
Yeah.
But that 9-5 on this horse was patently absurd. And you know, it's easy after the race, but you know, a masterful ride by Giroux, as we talked about on the show Saturday. This is a classic example of a jockey just grabbing a race by the throat and saying, okay, I'm going, and we'll see what the rest of you folks do. And Green Up, who's overbet, doesn't fire. A Dairy Manor doesn't fire. And Secret Oath, I think we expected, you know, she still ran okay, but she's clearly not in peak form, talking about a horse who's run. That was her 8th start. So
don't tell that to the coach, because the coach is just going right to the distaff, exactly where she wants this horse to be.
That's, you know what they call that? A takeout reducer.
Absolutely.
And you know, Pete and our girl Shahama, note I said girl, you know, just was ridden in a way that you just couldn't come from that far back. She ran big in the stretch, but you just couldn't come from that far back.
She's another one, Paul. She's another one, Paul, that I don't feel like they figured her out yet, because sometimes that, you know, the one couple of races she's way in the back, the one she sat up close and lost, but they need to do something with her, because she does have that nice late kick. I just can't figure out where it's going to come in best and get us a price one of these days.
I want to give
one of these days, Pete. Hopefully we'll be on her.
Yeah. Quick shout out to Matt Bernier, who on his show thought that Secret Oath would be interesting in the Filly Mare Sprint because of her middle moves. I think Matt's fantastic, and I respect his opinion. I think Secret Oath needs a break. That's what I think. I think she should not run the rest of the year. And I think let's talk about Society. Now, we talked about this. I also sent out another poll on Twitter, which I'm going to bring up here. Pete, I'll ask you first. If you own Society, and again, Steve knows this horse better than we do, where do you go? Do you rest her up? Do you go to the distaff? Do you go to the Filly Mare Sprint? Do you pick an easier spot? Your thoughts on Society, who is an up-and-comer. I love the stride. She's got big upside. But the distaff this year is absolutely loaded.
It is loaded, but I figure you take a shot. Why not? You got a horse that's in peak form. I mean, there's other speed. Actually, I like to reference back to the odds. Right now, they have her as the third choice, which is pretty surprising. Wow. 7-1 behind Nest and Malathot, and then, you know, way above search results, Latruska, Clariere at 14. So, it's a great field, but you got to take the shot. Look at the form she's in. I mean, she back-to-back 100 buyers. and just bottoming this field out. And if Latruska, the only thing is, Latruska is going to go. If she dares the devil go, she has speed. His search results is always right there. So there's going to be other speed here, not like this one where she got a pretty comfortable lead.
Pete, where's Echo Zulu in that list?
Echo Zulu's in the sprint one. This is the distaff. Echo Zulu's
we'll talk
about her though.
The Philly Merce sprint probably, Paul. Kyle, your thoughts on this poll? This was another poll question. Pretty close, but a lot of people think why not take a shot to the distaff. I personally think the sprint would be a much better spot, better chance to win. But I understand the temptation to go to the distaff with Society.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly what we talked about on Saturday was where we think that she broke her maiden at Keeneland sprinting 6.5, at Churchill at 6.5, granted in the slop, but she won that race as well. 7 furlongs at Charlestown's around the track. It's a mile and 16th everywhere else.
7 turns. It's 7 turns.
Yeah, that's right. But she won that type of sprint too. Granted, again, it's 2 turns at Charlestown, but still, she has sprint form where she wants to challenge Echo Zulu. I think she can definitely challenge her at least for the lead, but it's going to be the temptation is going to be it's going to be that type of thing.
You wonder too, Kyle, if they decide they're going to bring her back next year, maybe you take the shot at the distaff this year, and then if it doesn't work out, then you focus on the sprint and sort of run that course next year. Maybe, I don't know.
Charles, I just want to mention there is a horse named Latruska who's pretty fast. I don't know about, won't catch her. That would absolutely change the pace complexion. I'd like to see her in the race just for that alone. Although I think with search results in there also, I think there would be a decent pace. And I just read today that, by the way, Nest is going to go to the Bell Dame. They were thinking about resting Nest to go to the Breeders' Cup and wait. But actually, Nest is going to the Bell Dame, and I actually like that a lot. I did not like when Fletcher rested Malthot up like 7 weeks last year. I love Epicenter, guys. I don't like that Epicenter is not going to run until the Breeders' Cup. I don't like these 7-8 week breaks, Paul, going to the Breeders' Cup. I'd much rather them run 4 or 5 weeks. So you don't really have to comment on that, Paul, but I know that that's a big decision for these trainers.
Yeah, I think it's proven that, these races have a lot of history behind them, and that's proven not to be necessarily a terrible idea. As far as Society, if Asmussen is going to go the Filly and Mare sprint route with Echo Zulu, it makes a lot of sense that he would go the distaff with Society, because why does he want to have 2 speed horses in the same race, even if it is a sprint? So I think Society is more dangerous in the distaff. Now, I'm not saying she's going to win, but that commenter was at Charles. That at least is a possibility. It may not be a probability. I'll tell you one thing. It hurts Latruska if she goes to the distaff.
Oh.
Because,
I don't like that.
I think Latruska's over the top anyway.
Yeah,
based on the race I saw at Saratoga.
I'm totally against Latruska. Might help or hurt. It can't hurt Clarier, which would be the other Steve, right? So you have a speed and a closer. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see, guys.
Let's face it, Nest is going to be very difficult to beat in the distaff.
I think she's going to be tough to beat, but I wouldn't touch her like 8-5 or some nonsense.
You don't have to touch her, Howard. It'll be inappropriate. She's a female.
Wow.
She is going to be very, very difficult, especially if Society goes.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure.
I mean, I'm not lining up to bet her flat either, Howard. I hear you, but the way she's running, and I agree with you. The Bell Dam is historically a good prep for the distaff. Yeah. But Dylan brings up, don't forget Malathat, who just had that off race and ran huge.
Yeah.
At Saratoga last time.
Yeah, no, for sure. By the way, there's Dewey Fan. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thanks for joining the show. Guys, very quickly, we're going to spend about 5 minutes. We're going to do a few things very quickly. Let's talk about the Filly and Mare Sprint very briefly for the Breeders' Cup. Kamari, I'm not going to show the replay, won very nicely at Belmont. Small field, but did it like the perfect prep, in my opinion. Also, Echo Zulu won at Churchill against a bad field. I liked the 4 who didn't break well. But anyway, that's all their story. Guys, let me bring up, this is from another website. I'm going to make this a little bigger. These are the current. This is just one site. The Filly Mare Sprint odds. I just want to bring this up because I couldn't be more. Echo Zulu is in here at 6-1 third choice, guys. I'm completely against Echo Zulu right now in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Sprint. I don't think she's come back to form. She got a very easy lead. This is a pretty tough race. Looking at this field, general thoughts, Pete, on Echo Zulu, on Kamari, who both won, and then where Society would fit with this field that you see on the screen.
Oh, I think Society would fit right at the top if she decided to come here. I'm not against Echo Zulu the same way you are. I think maybe that could be a stepping stone to a bigger race. I think she actually reminds me a little bit of Jack Christopher in a sense where she had that one that sort of muddies up the form where she tried to go long and it was maybe a little bit out of her depth, the same way Jack Christopher did in the Haskell. And then now she's back to doing what she does. And I thought she was super impressive. Yeah, you're right. It wasn't a great field, but you race against who's out there. I didn't love the Kamari race that much. I thought it was sort of workmanlike, but it was fine. I just think it's not the greatest field. Like the Filly Mare Sprint's not shaping up either to be the greatest field. They all have questions. So I think that could be a fun race. It's a fun race,
field,
but
actually, but
no, it's a good field, but there's not one horse in there that's
there's
dominant.
No
like we've had in other years.
There's no superstar in that division.
Don't sleep on Matarea, folks, who had a tough trip in the slop from the rail.
That was just a weird one, right,
Saratoga.
Paul?
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't sleep on and my PA bred just one time. I'm going to be partial to the PA breds and New York breds. Okay. 6-1 on those odds you put up on. She's a good horse. I don't know.
Let's get some speed so Obligatory can run him down at.
I was getting to that. He was going to get to that. That's why he's bad mouthing Echo Zulu so he can make a case for his adopted daughter Obligatory.
Hey, only one of us had her on top on the show last time she won, and that was me and not Howard. So I'm just gonna. He betrayed his.
That's
kid
why she
in that
filed
sense.
for parental separation.
Yeah. She's done with him.
No comment. Two other thoughts, guys, is before bringing in our wonderful guest tonight. There are so many big races this weekend, and we don't have time to talk about it. Thursday, we're only going to be discussing Aqueduct. But for everyone knows who's going to be listening and watching, we are doing a Santa Anita show. It's going to be a taped show. Pete, Paul, and I are going to do a Santa Anita show, but it will not be live. It'll be taped. Guys, really quick, and it might be hard to see. These are some of the contenders for the Arc. The Arc to Triumph is Sunday. It's the best race in the world. At least that's the way they tout it. It's hard to argue with its history. I know some of these horses, some of you have not heard of, but I've heard of almost all these horses. It's possible some of these horses will point to the Breeders' Cup turf. Of course, Luxembourg just won. There's my son Mishriff, who was tailing off a little bit. I don't like him in the race. There's Torquedor Tasso, who ran last year. I believe in the Breeders' Cup.
Last year. Won
the race last year. Excuse me. My bad. Won the race. You've got Alcanor's in there. Broom, you see at the bottom of the screen. I just wanted to show that. We don't need to comment on it. I just wanted to show that to the Arc. And then, and I don't have time to go through the 17 races. I'm just going to scroll through this, guys, in 1 minute. And I'll let any of you guys comment on anything. But allow me to talk for 30 seconds, guys. The Woodward looks like it's a small field this weekend. Life is Good. It's going to be 1-9. It's got no competition. This is all, by the way, from Horse Racing Nation. So thanks to them. The Champagne, guys, looks like a real nice race in New York with Forte, Gulfport, Blazing Sevens, Good Magic Colt, Verifying, who won a nice maiden. That's going to be a very nice 2-year-old race. You got a turf race, 2-year-old turf race, of course, this weekend. These are all win-in-your-ins. I sort of feel like the Clements wish they went here instead of on the hill in Kentucky. But you've got a Voodoo Zip and a bunch of Thin White Duke and a bunch of horses sprinting on the turf. You got the Lucas Classic with Hot Rod Charlie, Happy Saver. There's Rich Strike, Paul, your buddy Rich Strike.
Rich Strike.
You know what I read the other day, Howard? Since he got back to Churchill, he's training very well.
I'm sure he's training fantastically. You have a prep for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile with Speaker's Corner, 3 Technique, and some others. That's at Churchill. Then you have the Santa Anita Awesome Again, which is basically the poor boys version of the Pacific Classic. Everyone except Flightline, basically. I'm assuming all these horses are going to go. You've got a turf race, which I don't think these horses have a chance in the turf. But there's Gold Phoenix coming back, guys, this weekend at Santa Anita. Anyway, there's the mile race. There's Hong Kong Harry, Master of Foxhounds. Anyway, guys, I could go through this forever. This is an interesting race. The San Anita Sprint, guys. How about Forbidden Kingdom coming back for Richard Mandela, who was a very sharp horse early. There's American Theorem, I think a horse that Paul liked a lot, who won for him at a price. Anyway, it's a load. You got the Eddie D with Lieutenant Dan, I think, is out of that race. But there's Gregorian Chant, one of Paul's favorites, also riding this weekend. Guys, the bottom line is it's a huge weekend of Breeders' Cup preps. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Real quick wrap around, and then we'll bring on Bri Mott. We'll go with Paul, Pete, Kyle. Just first impressions on anything you guys saw, Paul.
You mentioned everyone except the winner in the Champagne. Andiamo a Firenze, the New York bred.
You know, he's always against the Italians, Paul. You know that. You know,
that's right, Pete.
He's always
I'm
against
with you, Pete.
Italians.
Pete, you're my paisan, Pete.
He always leaves us out.
I'm gonna have this be a dead animal at my front door tomorrow. I love the Italians. What are you talking about? Pete, quick thoughts.
Oh, it's just great because there's a lot of, it's one of the last big days leading into the Breeders' Cup. So we always love those. Gets us excited. Gets us sort of a springboard in. Yeah,
absolutely. Kyle, last thought.
No, 100% agree with everybody here. I agree with Andiamo a Firenze. I think that horse is a real shot into that race, and I'm really excited to see how Forbidden Kingdom runs coming back, shortening up.
And the big $500,000 carryover in Canada tomorrow. I gotta take a look at that. The last thing I'll say, and then we'll bring on Bri Mott, guys. This is really for the listeners and viewers at home. What I'm about to say is nothing genius. If you're going to bet the Breeders' Cup, which who doesn't, you have to do your homework. And you can't do your homework 2 days before the Breeders' Cup. There's too many horses. You have to watch these races. I personally take trip notes on all these prep races starting this weekend for the next few weeks on my DRF formulator. So I have them. I'll probably watch replays anyway. Do your homework, folks. Watch these races carefully. So when the entries come out on Breeders' Cup week, you already have most of your handicapping done. It's way too hard of a weekend to just start handicapping then. So I just want to throw that out to really do your homework and start watching at that time. All right, guys. Speaking of watching and doing your homework, this next guest I'm really excited to have on. I first spoke with her actually over Twitter, and she may or may not remember. I was pretty strong in some words that I mentioned to her, appropriately so, about Stable Duel, which I love. And if you're not familiar with Stable Duel, our next guest will talk to you all about it. She is the director of marketing for Stable Duel. She's worn many hats in the horse racing industry. We are very excited to have on, for the first time this evening, the director of marketing from Stable Duel, Bree Mott. Bree, how you doing tonight?
Hey, What's going on?
Welcome to the HHH Racing Podcast. Thanks for joining us.
I do remember. And when you hit me up, I was like, this is interesting.
Well, Bree, let's talk about that first, just real quick. So, Bree, I'm a longtime player of Stable Duel. We'll get into details in a moment. But as a live money contest player and a big fan of contests in general, and I just looked at my account, Bree. I played 96 Stable Duel contests, just to let you know. Nice. So I over the last few years, I did mention too that I thought it was a bit unfair that at first Stable Duel allowed for just as many entries as people wanted. And again, we'll get into the game in a second. Bree, I want to give you a huge shout out and credit because I love when any business or any industry listens to its customers. Now, I'm not arrogant enough to say that you guys changed because of what I had to say. In fact, I'm sure you didn't. But I would assume that other people had the same concerns. I just want a big shout out because not soon after that, you guys changed the rules. You were you were awesome on Twitter. You got back to me right away. And not too soon after that, had to be within a few weeks to maybe a month, you changed the rules and you limited the number of entries that people can buy into the game. So without getting into the details of the game, I just want to give you a huge shout out for listening to your customers. I really, really do appreciate that.
Thanks. Yeah, no, from launch, we, loved the feedback and we ask questions, and sometimes we don't pivot as quickly because there's other things going on. But for sure, I mean, we're in this for the players. We're in this for the industry. So if the players aren't happy, I mean, obviously there's a business to be run. So if players aren't happy, that doesn't work. But we are the first of our kind. We are not horse tourneys. We are not Derby Wars. And so in that, there's been learning curves for us. And there's also, trying different things to try to get new players involved. And so we don't fit into the typical contests, I think, that other people are so well versed in. We're a little bit different. So there is some sort of a kind of like a happy medium sometimes that we all have to get to.
Nah, it's not easy. The business model is always tricky. You want to please everyone, but you know that you can't. We totally understand that. Bree, before we get into the details of your position in Stable Duel, let's talk a little about your background, because I deep dive on this show. I do my homework. I knew a little bit about you several years ago, but you've certainly made a name for yourself in the horse racing industry. But interesting enough, you don't really have a horse racing background. You are not the daughter of a famous trainer. Talk a little bit about your background and how you got into horse racing in the first place.
Yeah. So actually 2009, which now we're stretching 10 plus years, but 2009 was the first horse race I had ever seen. It was at Keeneland. I had no interest in racing before that. Actually, that's not true. I should count Vernon Downs in middle school. I went to Vernon Downs in middle school, but I can tell you there was a clear non-interest after going to Vernon Downs in middle school. But so prior to that, no horse racing. I was a horse girl. I was that weirdo on the back of a bus with those big books from Barnes and Noble, But Keeneland, I saw a horse race at Keeneland. I did an internship because I thought I wanted to be a vet. And that kind of just wrote me into Kentucky. And then kind of from there, I just immersed myself. So I worked as a groom in a foaling barn for 6 months. I worked for Nick Zito walking hots for a summer at Saratoga. I've worked the sales. I went overseas, worked in New Zealand for 3 months. I've been to Australia as well. That's kind of the cool thing about the thoroughbred industry is if you just say yes to things, you can kind of do a lot and go anywhere. You work hard along the way, but so then after that, I came back to Kentucky. I rode with a vet, and then I did some bloodstock help. I will not claim that I can look at a horse and be like, that's a winner. That is ridiculous that I would ever. But I understand the system. And then I started to kind of gravitate to the front of house, and I started a business called Fashion at the Races. And that was to promote kind of the lifestyle side of racing, the fun, if you want to dress up, champagne, that sort of vibe. And then Stable Duel came along, and I've been with Stable Duel, I guess, what are we, 2020, I guess 2 years or something like that.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Been there pre-launch for launch, and I'm in it. I'm in it to win it.
Pete, ask Bree where she got her college degree.
Uh-oh. Where'd you get your college degree, Bree?
We are Penn State.
Oh, me too. We got Penn State.
Pete?
Scott is our normal Penn State. Although I'm a Nebraska football fan, as I get made fun of on this show all the time by Penn State Scott. But we do these things.
Funny fact, my 21st birthday was in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, nice.
We're just going to leave it right there. We won't go into
details. I was going to say, that might be an off-the-air story.
We got time, Bree, if you want to talk more about that birthday. Anyway, so, you majored in animal sciences, correct? Mm-hmm. So maybe you thought you wanted to be a vet. I know you traveled overseas, and I read that you sort of told your mom, you got to make a decision what you want to do, and you actually went out to California for a seminar that sort of changed your life in a way, correct?
Oh my gosh, where did you find this? You are digging. Holy
Bree,
crap.
Listen, we do our homework on this. This is like the 60 minutes of horse racing. We do our research.
When you said you went out to California, I was like, no, I didn't. And then yes. So my mom roped me into a marketing motivational speech sort of thing. And I'm such a jerk as a kid. I'm like, Mom, this is stupid. I don't want to go. I'll go with you. Fine. Kicking and screaming my whole entire life towards that amazing woman. And we go, and I think it's 3 days. It cost her money. And that's where I actually drew the logo for Fashion at the Races. That's where I kind of created my business plan. And I guess I would say that's kind of where the marketing mindset kicked off. So kudos to you. Holy crap. I forgot about that.
Yeah, it started in 2012, Fashion at the Races.
Yep.
And, I'm assuming you still enjoy dressing up the races, even though you're with Stable Duel. And we have a fun 10 minutes to post question, which we'll get into that a little bit. But What was it about working with, starting Fashion at the Races? What did you enjoy most about that experience, other than the obviously being able to travel around different tracks?
Yeah, so I started that after being in Australia and saw what they did with fashions on the field. So, I mean, it's been well past 50 years now, but let's say 60 years ago, the racetracks over there realized that women were, diminishing in numbers coming to racing. And so what happens when women diminish? Well, guys diminish because there's no women to chase. Plus, the women are telling them that they can't go, like golfing. Like, no, you can't go every Saturday, Sunday, so no, you can't go racing. So they were smart. They realized that they needed to get women there. And so they created this like marketing campaign in a way, and it was called Fashions on the Field in a Competition. What's up, Colin? And so I started kind of that over here because we just lack like the racetrack. There's a ton of racetracks, and I won't name them right now, that have no marketing committees, like none. They don't care about them. They just don't. And so as a whole, we just lack like a marketing just vision for racing collectively, of course, but even the racetracks themselves in their own area. So started that. And honestly, the whole path has been amazing because I think for me, it was my business. I pretty much was the only one, and I had family help me and friends help me. And the stuff I learned along the way was fantastic. Like everything from digital marketing to, hosting events, to giveaways, to hooking up with brands, sponsorships, partnerships, like just the inner workings. I mean, it set me really nicely for Stable Duel, but it was learning the hard way every single time. And, that's kind of what you have to do for a lot of this.
Bree, I love many things about horse racing and things that you do. If you don't follow Bree on Twitter, I love someone that's opinionated, but in an appropriate way. And you just have to follow her on Twitter to know what I'm talking about. Bree understands what I'm talking about because I do like strong opinions, but as you know, HRT, horse racing Twitter, can be a complete cesspool, as I've learned the last year and a half. Bree, this podcast is only a little over 20 months old, and I sent my very first tweet last year January. So I'm one of those old curmudgeons that really never got involved with Twitter, and I've realized in the last 20 months there is some interesting stuff out there on horse racing Twitter. You are strong, but you're kind in the way you say it, and I just want to compliment you also on your Twitter because I think you do a great job with your tweets.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about Team Valor, because you work for Team Valor also. I know I'm backtracking a little bit. Who, by the way, guys, had the one horse in the Cotillion that we all hoped, I hoped would run. She was not very good, unfortunately. And Green Up at 9 to 5. Bree, what happened to your old Team Valor guys? I liked Green Up, not at 9 to 5. Paul, what did you say? One of the most overbet horses of the year?
No, I said she may not have been, but no others come to mind.
Yeah. Bree, talk about your experience with Team Valor. I've never met Barry Irwin, but the whole group seems like a really nice group of people. Tell me about that experience a little bit.
Yeah, so another amazing experience. So I worked for Barry for 6 years, and I don't know what the demographic of people that are listening to this, but I'm going to say this, and I'm proud of it. So I actually met Barry because of an ad that it said, like, live for free, clean my house once a week, and take care of my dogs. I love dogs. I love not spending money. And I don't know, I don't mind cleaning a house, I guess. So I applied and I got the gig. So I lived in an apartment above their garage for 3 or 4 years, and I cleaned their house. And
where were that? You don't. Where is that part of the country? You don't have to give details.
In Kentucky, in Lexington.
Okay. Okay. Very cool.
So to the, I guess, the whole millennial and student loans. So I was able to like pay off student loans and do all this stuff. And so that's how I met Barry. And I think I did not professionally work for him for maybe the first 6 months or to a year. But then he was like, you need to come work for me. I had already done fashion at the races, and he liked what I did. And so then I started working for him professionally as well. And I worked for him for 6 years. And I still lived there for 3 of them. And then I moved somewhere else eventually. But so huge experience, both in customer service, the bloodstock world, racing. Like, this really gave me the ownership side of racing I had never seen. You walk hots, you just see the owners. They come, they look at the horse, they might ask to give it a treat, and they leave. Like, the trainer usually doesn't even tell you too much about it. This was far different. This was like when we shipped Animal Kingdom overseas, it was like call to get the electrolyte pack. So when he lands, he's got electrolytes in his system, and this is what we're looking for, and call the assistant trainer, like very much the inner workings of the horse, but also to a partnership, you have however many partners to keep happy. So updates, kind of like the downside of it, telling them, yeah, no, this horse isn't going to run this weekend, or the horse isn't going to run anymore, or we're going to sell it, or whatever it is. So to the Twitter side of things and customer service, like Barry was very good. And I think one of the things he said was, he's like, you've got to learn how to like give people a shoulder to cry on, but then also like toughen up and say, like, this is how it is. This is what you got into, and have a professional way to say, like, whatever it is. Like, you can't always just bend over backwards and to the customer is always right. I actually think the customer is not always right, but there's still a way to provide customer service and show value, even if you're correcting them on something. And so those were some good values that I learned from Barry. And I obviously learned like the inner workings of international racing, fillies, turf, sales. Like it was an awesome experience. I can't speak highly enough about Barry and his wife, Kathleen, and then the partnership. I still talk to some of the owners. They're great as well.
Well, they know how to do it. Anyone on the panel here, anyone have a question for Bree? I don't want to, or piggyback off of something she said.
No, but I would say this, Bree. Bree, were you at Parx on Saturday?
I was not. I wish,
okay,
but no,
good.
I was a keyboard warrior.
Then I feel better, because I would have felt badly if I thought I saw you and I didn't say hello. No, but I think it's great that you just brought that story up, because, I think nowadays, if you just said, well, we want you to start out in a job, but you're going to start out living in a house, and part of your job is going to be to clean the house. Some people would say, that's below me. And I'm, especially in this game, so many people start out at the bottom and end up near the top. And you don't do that if you're not willing to make that kind of a move. And hats off to you for being proud of it. And, because like I say, I really think if you said that, especially to a young woman in 2022, they might say, well, I want to go to college and I'm not going to clean someone's house. But, the guy's house you're cleaning happens to be one of the most powerful horse racing people in the world. FYI, it might lead to something. So good for you. And we all have to start somewhere, and very few start at the top. Most start at the bottom. So hats off to you.
Thanks. Well, I even think some of the best people at the top, right, are still doing
no doubt
the office bathroom. Like, that's what makes you the leader. That's what makes you, it's the ones that don't want to do that have a very temporary set job, is the way I look at it.
Yeah. Well, look at the game we're in. I mean, the top people in the world, the top trainers in the world get up at 3:00 in the morning. So that's all you really need to know.
Two other quick things to talk about. I'd like to ask you, Bree, and then we're going to get into Stable Duel. You worked at Ashford Stud, and Kyle, you and I went to Ashford Stud, Coolmore. What an unbelievable place that was. Kyle and myself, I've been to Keeneland several times. Kyle Roscoe on the bottom is right next to you there on the screen, was at Keeneland for the first time with me. First time for him, but he had to be with me in the spring, and he'd never been to a real farm of that nature. And Kyle, I don't know if you want to piggyback off of what Bree might say, but that place, Ashford Stud in Coolmore, Bree absolutely blew us away.
Yeah. No, it's the history behind it, obviously meticulous in grooming in general. Those farms, especially in Woodford County, Lanes End, they keep it nice for a reason. And then the stock that they have there is nothing to amazing broodmares.
Let's Justify, Mendelssohn, Uncle Mo, Practical Joke. Who else, Kyle? Who am I missing?
I mean, you're missing American Pharaoh.
Yeah, another Triple Crown winner. I mean, it's crazy there. I mean,
and some of the stallions are the headliners, right? But the mares, people sort of forget about. But Spain is there, Rags to Riches is there. There are powerful male, and even broodmare levels. And this took me still a long time, because they might have been nobody on the racetrack, but their actual producing is nuts. Hey, Andy.
Yeah.
It's really cool in general. And the farm obviously is beautiful. They take amazing care of their horses. I had a great experience. I did the foaling barn. So, and then I did yearlings as well. I kind of did it all, but it was awesome.
We saw the foaling barn. That is an
Yeah.
unbelievable. I don't know if you've been there recently, but I mean that place is seeing the foaling barn at Coolmore compared to the foaling barn at some other places is quite the experience, because we saw the foaling barn at Claiborne, which is an unbelievable place, but obviously much more old school and very different. Last question for you to Stable Duel. You've worked with so many great people. If you still have any connection with Longines, I'll take a watch, by the way. I saw that. I was like, ooh.
Out of that. I did get a free watch out of that. So.
Oh, wow. So anyway, I just wanted to mention, maybe we'll talk after the show. Anyway, I've got a few coins in my pocket. Maybe I can afford to watch from them. Let's get into Stable Duel, Bree. I'm going to let you talk about Stable Duel. I'm sure there's people, even though it's been around for a few years, I'm sure there's people out there that are not familiar with Stable Duel. We don't have an hour left here, but briefly talk about what Stable Duel is. And I got a little surprise for everyone for something that happened with me this Saturday, which you may or may not be aware of.
I'm not aware, so we'll
Okay.
see. So Stable Duel is the first of its kind. It's only in mobile apps. So right now we're in iOS and Android. And it's the familiar fantasy football format. So if you've played fantasy football on Yahoo, on CBS, whatever, where you're selecting your team within a salary cap of however many players, and you can't select all the Tom Brady's, you're going to run out of money. That's the same format for Stable Duel. So you go in there, you'll select a game, which is at a particular track. It's showing Keeneland here, which is coming up. And then you select 10 horses within a $50,000 bankroll. So 2-to-1 is costing you $9,000. So you can't have 10 2-to-1. So you have to develop this kind of fun strategy of like shorter priced or higher priced, and then value picks. And 10 horses, you submit your stable, and you're going up against other people's stables. And so then for point wise, all your horses get points for first through fifth. But the cool part of this is the variance is lengths won by. So if you've got the first horse, let's say Mind Control, if you selected that horse, I forget what it was, like 9,000 or something, he gets 60 points for winning. And then however many points he wins by. So 62.5 right there is what that horse showed. And then second place is a 40 baseline, but then you subtract the lengths that horse got beaten by. So it's a really cool way to play. And like the whole thought process is you don't have to select 10 winners. Like you have to just select a well-rounded stable that you think is going to be the best on the day. And so the other side of this, which I'll keep it quick, is it's really good for like bringing new people into the sport, learning the game, looking at PPs. We have horse detail screen that are past performances. And rather than, betting $10 on one race, and then let's say Green Up, everybody tells me that I'm a newbie, that Green Up's going to win. So I grab my $10 and I go and put it on, and she flunks. I don't know that I'm going to want to play again. This kind of gets rid of that binary outcome. This is oh my gosh, the horse that I selected got third and I got 20 points. I can't wait until I see what the next one does. And so even if you only got 2 winners, the next time you'll be I'm going to get 3. And you just have this confidence level as you continue to learn horse racing by playing in Stable Duel. And you cash. Obviously, pay to play, free games. We pay out pretty decent prize pools. $1,000, I think, is what somebody won on Saturday for first place. $5,000 total. But yeah, that's the thing.
Well, I did okay on Saturday. This was actually me on Saturday. There is, by the way, a stable called HHH, but that is actually not me. I created this before I started the podcast, so I am K-Dog on there. I obviously got off to a rip-roaring start, Bree. I was actually in first, second, third early, and then unfortunately horses like Green Up and Tawny Port sort of hurt me, along with Derby House, who was a second choice. But I did have riding with Biden also. I got 8th place, and I got $150 back. It was a $50 entry fee, and I won $100. So it was a lot of fun. It's really cool, and it really teaches value, guys. I think that's something that's helped me through contest play. We talk a lot about money lines and value, and that's what this does, Bree, because you do have to find those sneaky, 6-1 to 15-1 horses that you think can run, because you can't afford, obviously, through your stable to play all 3-1 shots.
Yeah, and I think that feeling like riding with Biden. I mean, I'm still on a high because I did like that horse. And
you tweeted about riding with Biden too.
To see him like break out and just hold on, the head down the whole entire time, like just no question. I mean, I was sitting there in front of the television, just doing this little dance. So if you guys sign up, let's see, what time is it? So it's 8:56. If any stables that sign up between now and, I don't know, 10 a.m. tomorrow, I'll give you guys $5 to play in your first contest. I know it's not a lot, but
wow.
I'll do it right now.
Thank you, Bree. That's awesome. Kyle's in. There you go. Sign up. There you go. And that's another thing I like about Stable Duel, Bree, is everyone has a different budget, right? We would never poo-poo anyone. Some people spend $300 on a race. Some people, if they spend $50 for the weekend, that's a lot, right? Stable Duel has $100 contests. I think I saw a $250 one time, but they also have $5 contests. You have free contests. You guys
dollar nights. We got it all.
Great job of marketing to different people's personal budgets.
Well, hey, Howard, just one thing for Bree. One thing I do like too is, like you're talking about, if you only want to spend $25, you still can get the thrill of playing a whole card. Whereas you're generally, for $25, you're going to struggle to play a whole card. I mean, you could play like $2 a race, but this will get you with a little bit more upside potentially. And that's kind of awesome if you are playing on a small budget, just like daily fantasy and football or anything else. You could do that, win big prizes for a low amount.
Bree, we got to take care of the Canadians. What's going on?
I know, Cindy. I know Cindy was with us on the live stream last night. I know, Cindy. I'm trying. I promise. Yeah. No. So the thought process around that, right? So $100. People spend $100 on bets. Some people don't too. That's fine. But you are spending it for an entire race card of entertainment. And the other thing is, like, the potential to cash in Stable Duel, you could, it's tough to argue this, but you could argue is a little bit better than some other bets, especially a pick 5. And the only reason I'll say pick 5 is, like, if you missed one horse in one of your races, you're out. There's no chance. If you
duly noted, Bree.
I was going to say, sadly, yeah.
I missed a pick 5 on Parx, but
we're the 4 out of 5 crew on this show, unfortunately.
But in Stable Duel, you could have like 2 bad horses, and you could look, Howard just put up his stable. He got 8th, and he still cashed a $100 profit on top of the $50. So I think the risk is a little bit lower. We have different contests where it's a double up, so the top 40% cashes. So pick your poison, but for sure, I don't know. It's just a different way to play. And yeah, we just want everyone to play and love horse racing and engage. And it's a very engaging game, which is great.
Hey, Howard, sorry. Go ahead. You go first. Oh, no, I was just going to ask one Stable Duel. I didn't want to move on. Did you ever think about, would it be interesting to do and I don't know if it's possible depending on the tracks that you have affiliations with, but like doing one that's not just a single track card, but maybe multiple stakes races. So then, people who don't follow, maybe I'm not going to follow the 3rd race at Parx on a certain day, but I might follow the grade 1s or the stakes races across the board, across the country. Has that ever been a possibility, or are there challenges to that?
So I guess there are always challenges.
I'm sure. Hard to, impossible to overcome challenges, maybe.
No, actually, so one of the big racing groups that we are partnered with, they want us to quickly do that for their racetracks in general. But at the moment, it's just a development thing for us. So the most we can do right now, which, feel free to shoot me DMs, whatever, but we can do what we call a late 5. So on a race card, rather than having the full race card, we'll just do the last 5 races as typical, same format, but then you don't have to get in before first post like most of our games as at 12. You could wait until 3 and it's just a quick hit of 5 races. But yes, more game formats of multi-tracks, whether it's I don't know, the golden hour that they do, Santa Anita, and we'll be doing those somewhat soon. We've got some other pretty important updates coming through first.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Bree, I have a quick rules question, then we have a question from one of our viewers, and then we'll get into our 10 minutes to post and end our show. Do you have a good 10 or 15 minutes left, Bree? Fantastic. This is a serious rules question. You mentioned it pays top 5. I know sometimes that only the top 4 get points. I know that happened on Saturday. I thought it was based on field size, but I don't want to put you in a tough spot here. But there was a race this weekend on Saturday that had less horses than one. There's a race that paid out a top 4, but only had like 7 horses, and then there was another race that had like 10 horses that paid out. Sorry, the 10 race paid 4, and the smaller race paid 5. So I've seen sometimes it pays out 4, sometimes it pays out 5. I don't know if you have the answer to that question, but
So
I'm
when
sort of
you
confused
say
as the player by that.
So when you say pays, you're looking at points, positive
Positive
points. Is that right?
positive points, positive points, yeah.
So the positive points are always the same, but what the variance is the length. So you're probably looking at the 5th place horse and wondering why it got negative. It got negative because it was more than 10 lengths behind the winner.
Thank you. That answered my question. So it's not really about field size necessarily then. In terms of how many positive points you guys pay out. Is that correct?
Yeah, so 1st through 5th is what gets the base positive points, but still, like even for 2nd place, so we cap it at -30. So
so like country grammar against Flightline when he lost by what 22.
Yeah,
is that you could finish 2nd and be closer to negative, I guess?
No, so you get 40 points for second. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Bree. You can explain.
Yeah. No, so Howard was right. So you get 40 base points for 2nd. So if he got beat by 22 lengths, then he would still get a positive of 18.
18.
Right.
Exactly. But then you move on to 3rd, and it's a base point of 30, and it depending how many in 2nd and so on. So so you can still get a negative for 5th because of the negative. When can I log in and see tournaments and how people? That is one of the first updates that I am pushing out. So it's coming soon. Not soon enough, Colin, but it's coming.
Bree, we do have we are on listening platforms, so people can't see. Can you just read that for the people and then respond again one more time, please?
Bree, when can I log in and see tournaments and how people are doing that I'm not a part of? That's the one thing I'm really missing. So currently in the Stable Duel app, you have to be playing in the tournament to see the leaderboard. We are going to change that. We're going to open that up to all players so that if you didn't get in or you didn't want to get in or you're new and you want to figure it out, all the contests will be open so that you can check out the leaderboard.
Terrific. Bree, we're going to end the segment with you, and we really appreciate you coming on the show. You've been fantastic. Again, follow Bree everywhere on Twitter. Join Stable Duel. I'm a big fan. For many reasons. We have a fun segment that I created for our guests called 10 Minutes to Post. 10 Minutes to Post. These are going to be 10 rapid fire questions. Bree does not know what they are. They could be just about anything.
I feel like I need to stretch.
You can take 10 seconds. You can take a minute. Really, it's your dime, your dance floor. You take as long as you want, and we're going to rotate the questions through, and guys on the screen will rotate it literally in clockwise orders. We'll go Pete, Paul, and then Kyle will take the 4th question. Bree, are you ready for 10 minutes to post? Here we go. Questions on the bottom of the screen. What was the first moment, or when was the first moment you fell in love with horses or horse racing?
Horse racing. Oh my gosh. Horses ever since I can remember, even from a book to the live thing. Horse racing. I'm going to be a little cringy / cliche and say I was at the Zenyatta Breeders' Cup, and I don't know, just the crowd in general, even, we'll go there.
I can only imagine.
Assuming she was in 2 of them, but I'm assuming you're talking about the last one where she won the Classic. And right.
I was the one with Blame.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Which was the last one? You were right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when he came back, like nobody was booing or anything. It was just like, but then when she came back after him, the crowd are like, and you can't after that. You're a fan.
I met her last victory, Paul. Good call, Paul. Pete, you got the next one.
What do you like most working for Stable Duel?
I think just promoting the sport that I love to try to get new people involved.
Great answer.
Great answer. Paul?
Your best, most memorable horse racing event ever attended?
She might have just answered it, but maybe not. You never know.
Yeah, we might go there. I'm going to try to think of another one, though. Okay. Here's what I'm going to say. So we already talked about the Barry Irwin situation. And so prior to working for them professionally, this was just before I started working for him in Team Valor. So I was watching their dogs while they were in Dubai for Animal Kingdom. And I was watching on the television, and they had a Scottish Terrier and a poodle, and I have my little dog who's now 12 and ancient. And I'm watching this on television, him come down the stretch, and I am on the couch that I did not own, and I am jumping up and down and saying, "Your dad and mommy are winning," and I'm freaking out. So I will say that was definitely a moment that I'll never forget. And I was not at the race, so that's something about horse racing.
That's very cool. By the way, any questions for Bree Mott? I'm sure she'll be happy to answer them. And after we, please comment in the live chat. We have great viewership tonight, Bree. Of course, only because of you, not because of us Yahoos on the screen. Kyle's a very sharp young man, so he'll appreciate this question.
Yeah, there you go. What are the do's and don'ts when dressing up at the track?
Okay, well, you're catching me like a few years from fashion at the races.
We know you still got it in you, though. We know you still got it in you.
Should I answer for guys or girls? Well,
Both.
Overall, I still think still be comfortable. Like, I will wear heels that hurt, but I will not be caught looking like they hurt, and I will not be barefoot. So that's number one. But no, I don't know. Like, I think whatever the vibe is, look sharp, and seersucker is a little bit too much, guys. But hey, if it fits, have a blast, have a good time.
Christine Race is I'll put that up. She's one of our fantastic viewers. We have several, we've many female viewers that watch the show, which I'm personally very proud of, Bree, because I think we need to expand the game as much as possible. So Christine, she's awesome. Christine, shout out to you, and shout out to you, Bree, obviously. So thanks Christine, for chiming in. Next question goes to myself, and that is the biggest celebrity you've met at the track.
Okay, so that's a little hard. So I did interview, so we were talking about partnerships, and I'm a huge fan of Longines, but GH Mum was a partnership. And I mean, you can never have enough champagne. So maybe we need to hook up with GH Mum. Biggest celebrity.
I think you need to have a drink with Michelle Yu. She's a big champagne girl, as you probably are aware of.
Yes. Yeah, no, every year we talk about it, and then we never end up getting champagne together. So here, I'll just tell one funny story, I guess. The guy that created Seinfeld and is in
Larry David.
Yes.
Larry David.
Yes. So this is not to age anybody, but he's a little bit before my time, I guess. Like, I know who he is, but I'm not a huge fan, and I don't really understand his vibe. But so the cameraman, when he came, they were so excited. They're like, you got to get him for an interview. Like, this is the man that wrote Seinfeld. You know, he's in this show and whatever. And they were laughing because they kind of gave me he's a little tough. And so I asked him, I said, hey, do you mind signing the GH Mum bottle? It's for charity, which it was. And he's like, yes, I'll sign the bottle or something. But I got to do my job. So I'm trying to get him for an interview too. So he's signing the bottle, he's taking pictures. And then I was like, oh, Larry, thanks so much. Who do you think in the Derby? And he was like, you said I could sign the bottle and then I could leave. And I was like,
Wow.
wanted to start crying. And I'll say, I don't know if he was really being a jerk. I don't know if he was playing a role. But I was just so surprised by I don't know, just right down there. He's like, you said this, and I know that I did, but I tried. So I don't know. Larry David was one. Brangelina never came, which was a huge disappointment. I was hoping they would come, but I don't know. You guys know who's on the Kentucky Derby red carpet. Some of them are, woohoo, and some of them aren't. So
yeah, it's a mixed bag for sure. Pete.
Oh, this is a great one. How do we grow the younger audience and the female audience?
Obviously, $1 billion question for our industry, if anything. Gambling is big, so the fact that it is branching out and now starting to cross over with sports gambling is a big deal for the younger audience. Obviously, I'm biased with Stable Duel. I think Stable Duel is a huge factor in all of this. To the female side, I was not a big gambler really before Stable Duel. I think, and I will say this, again, I'm sure there's bias. I do think Stable Duel helps to develop gamblers along the way. because of risk, confidence, knowledge to get to next levels. And then, you meet a good group of people, and then all of a sudden you want to start gambling along with them a little bit more. Female wise though, I think females can be turned into gamblers, absolutely, but I think it's more of an experience. So I think you have to create an experience, whether it's in the mobile app of TwinSpires, TVG, FanDuel, Stable Duel. Like, that has to be a good experience. Technology is huge, and sometimes we stink hashtag non-HD. There's a lot, right? But I think it's experience, and I don't know what my first point was. Whatever my first point was.
Well, Kyle, I don't want to get too much into your personal life, but you know someone that didn't know anything about horse racing, that enjoys your company, that really loves horse racing. She'd be a perfect person, really, to what has she said about horse racing that really that she enjoys, other than, of course, being with you at the track.
Well, yeah, that's number one. But no, I'm just honestly, she loves she got into it. She's big into Lily. She's big into all that stuff. So she always wanted to go to the Derby for the experience. She never cared about the races. She didn't care about until she met me. That's when she started to immerse herself in the races and everything. But yeah, the big thing was the experience, and the getting to dress up and just going out, having a good time and drinking with your friends. So yeah. I think that's 100% correct with your point there.
Bree, we've got 4 more questions. Paul, you got the next one.
Bucket list track or race day event you would like to attend, either here or overseas?
Okay, well, I'm going to give the womp womp. I actually would love to see every racetrack in the U.S. I've grown a huge love for racinos because I love a good craps table. So you win or lose on the track, and then you either win it or lose it back on the craps table.
That's what I'm talking about.
So I will chalk up to any of those I still want to go to. But I would say the Arc de Triomphe would probably be my bucket list, I guess.
It's this Sunday, Bree. We can fly out there. It's in a few days.
I'll be on a plane. So you just tell me when. But yeah, no, I've gone to Hong Kong and Korea and Dubai. So I've seen some of the big places. But I think the French would be really cool to see. Bree and the guys. Who's winning? Oh, don't ask me.
I have no idea. We have no idea. We have to do our handicapping on that.
I agree.
By the way, a lot of people have said Melbourne Cup on this show, Bree. A lot of people have said Melbourne Cup in Australia. So have you been there? I mean, because you were out there, right?
Yeah. So I did not go to the Cup, but I have been to Flemington and Caulfield. So, I mean, I would love to go to the Melbourne Cup. And I will say this, though, the Kentucky Derby is fantastic. I'm okay not going. I'm okay to watch it on television. I usually do a little bit better gambling that way. I see the races a bit better. There's just less just everything. But they are fun to go do too. So the fact that I've been to Flemington and had a great race day, I saw Black Caviar in 3 or 4 of her races when I was over there. So I feel like I kind of I'm okay if I don't make it to the Melbourne Cup and I could see other races.
Oh, I mean, you've been to some places that I can only dream of. It's so cool, Bree. We've got 3 more questions. Kyle, perhaps the most important question based on Bree's job right now would be this one.
Oh, boy, and you give it to me. Nice. So what's the future of Stable Duel and then in just general horse racing fantasy sports?
So I probably can't answer the second half of that because I don't really know. So horse racing in itself, legal wise, is interesting because we are a statute completely separate from sports gambling and from fantasy, which is great. I think we want to stay there. So we'll just leave that one. For Stable Duel, I mean, we have a lot of exciting things coming on. We're going to expand overseas in 2023. We have talks in Latin America as well. Canada, we're waiting, as Cindy knows, we're waiting on one thing to happen in Canada, and then we'll be expanding up there. But yeah, it's one of those things that anything can happen, and we're just working hard, and we're excited to continue to grow, and we appreciate player support doing that.
I have the penultimate question, and that is, the consistently best-dressed patrons are at which racetrack, Bree? I know you don't want to upset people, but you've got to have an opinion on this.
I know. This one's, I'm not going to lie, this one's a little tough. So the easy answer, a lot of people would want me to say, is Keeneland.
I feel like there's a butt coming.
I do. I have some trouble with some, they're They're so boring at Keeneland. They all look the same. They're all wearing the same damn boots and the same short dresses with no jackets. Like, it's just, but I will say there still is 100% a level of class in a lot of the Keeneland wear. Like, I will wear faux furs and stuff like that. So I think that's great. I'm just going to say Saratoga, but I just think that's because I love Saratoga with the summer vibe and summer dresses and shorts. And, some people are in suit jackets because they have to be, even if they're complaining. I don't know.
Well, both those places, I'll just say, have some very beautiful people there, either sex, whatever you people prefer out there. There are a lot of sharp dressed people and some very sharp looking people at both. Paul works for the Saratoga Special, by the way, Bree. So he's up there for some parts of the summer. So he has first-hand knowledge, right, Paul, of the well-dressed people.
And I am not one of the although I do wear a jacket twice a year out of respect for Mrs. Whitney on Whitney Day and Travers Day. And this year Whitney Day was 100 degrees, so it was not very stylish when it was stuck to me.
Pete, you've got the last question. Very simple, Bree.
Favorite horse?
Ooh. I feel like they come in. This sounds terrible. Besides my own, I feel like the favorite racehorses come and go. Not in a bad way. I think you always remember them. But so there was a Team Valor horse. He was Panama Hat. He won 5 times in like 4 weeks or 3 weeks over in Ireland, turf racing. He was awesome. Euro Charlene was another filly of theirs that I loved. Gosh, I don't know.
How about one that you have no association with at all, just as a fan?
Okay, so you'll laugh, but Mia Bear is a filly that has been running at Assiniboia Downs, and because I am following Assiniboia Downs like all the way through the meet, I fangirl for that thing.
Tomorrow night, we'll all be following.
Yes, we will.
The big pick 5 tomorrow night with the highest class horse, I believe, is 7,500 claimer. So that's going to be quite interesting.
It's a fun track to cap. It really is.
It really is. Bree Mott, you've been fantastic. We'll let you close out where people can find you. Of course, your Twitter handle is at the bottom. Anything else you'd like to promote before you leave us?
I don't think so. I think, follow me on Twitter if you want. My Instagram, people try to follow. That is the one thing that I have private, and it's filled with horses, my horse, so you're not going to be interested in it anyways. But yeah, no, follow Twitter. Play Stable Duel. Let me know what you think. Improvements are coming, as always. But, just play along and see if you can beat Howard up there. K-Dog. And you won. You did win.
I have won before, yes. I've won a few contests.
I feel like last week. Yeah.
I think not last week, but I have won. I won a fairly big Keeneland contest. I've won before, but it's tough. I mean, you have up and down days just like anyone else. But Bree, anything that we can do for the HHH Racing Podcast to help Stable Duel, please let us know. I'd love to talk to your advertising people or whatnot. We have over 160,000 views on YouTube, and we have over 1,500 subscribers. We're growing every day. So perhaps through email we can talk again. But thanks for joining us, Bree. Are you going to the Breeders' Cup, Bree?
So I'll be here in Lexington. I don't know if I'll be on track. I'm a little bit of a cheapo. So if tickets open up and somebody's got like a deal or I can barter somebody down, I might end up going. But no,
well,
I don't.
I'm playing in the BCBC. Kyle's also going with me. So maybe I know Jim Goodwin. Maybe I can pull some strings.
I love Jim.
Yes. We'll see. Give Jim a call. He'll take care of you, Bree. Come on now.
I knocked his car though recently. I knocked his black BMW. Because I think anybody in BMWs are angry individuals. No offense if you're on this right now.
See that she put that on Twitter. This is what I love about it. You tweeted something to that effect out. Anyway, Bree, well, I hopefully maybe if we don't see you the Breeders' Cup, we'll meet you some way or another in Lexington. Perhaps you can have a beverage with a group of us or whatever. We'd love to take you out to dinner or whatnot and enjoy the time while we're down there for the Breeders' Cup at Keeneland. Bree, thanks a lot. Appreciate your time you gave us. Have a great evening. Thanks for coming.
Thanks, Bree.
Thanks, Bree.
Take care.
She's awesome, guys. I mean, what are you going to say?
Yeah.
Bree does a great job with Stable Duel. She's exactly what this industry needs. She's energetic. She knows what she's talking about. She's intelligent. She's articulate. and she's been with many fantastic groups of people, from Ashford Stud Paul to Barry, to Team Valor to Lawn Jeans. I mean, and she started from the bottom. I mean, it's a great success story, Paul. It really
It
is.
sure is. And, I've said this before, Howard, and no disrespect to the many bright young men in the industry, but there's just no comparison that there are more bright young women. And you just look at Parx on Saturday. Jessica Paquette did the in-house TV for all the races, except Kate Bradar and Maggie Wolfendale did it for the Cotillion and Derby. So there's three, there's three right there. Turn on TVG, and you mentioned Michelle Yu, and you have Christina Blacker and Brittany Urton, and again, it's no disrespect. I like guys too. It's no disrespect, but if you're talking about bringing females into the game, if they even stumble upon the TV or they're at the track and they see a Maggie or a Michelle or a Bree, they're probably more likely to be interested. So I just think it's terrific, and I think her story's great, as I brought up to her, because, she was not looking at anything like, well, this is below me. She was looking at, well, this sounds like it could be an opportunity. So, and it is. I don't play enough. I would have had a good day at Parx Saturday too. I wish I had thought about playing on Saturday, but
You would have. You probably beat my ass.
Well, you know how it is though. You get wrapped up on track, and I didn't play one. I did not play one race at the Royal Aqueduct meet on Saturday, because you get on track for one of those big days, and I was doing. I wasn't sure what stories I was doing, so I was pretty much doing interviews after every race, and it's I got to play more often, and I perhaps will play this Saturday.
Pete and Kyle, real quick final thoughts before I wrap up the show. Pete?
Actually, I don't really have a final thought. I was just going to address one thing. There was a few comments about young handicappers and where they can get more information. And we have Kyle Roscoe here who did this. And I was thinking maybe we could do a show one of these days where we can do like a Q&A session, but specific to handicapping questions and questions about bets and questions about strategies, or just even basic questions. And maybe we could put that out there so some of the young handicappers out there can maybe pick up some tips, or at least ask questions that maybe they just don't know where to go to get answers to. And we have the educator himself, the professor of Arlington, as a new nickname for him. There we go. We can do that.
Well, you said the educator. I thought you were going to go to me, but
that's what I did too. But
no, educator of something important, not math.
We're not interested in real education.
Who the hell cares about math?
If you want to co-host again on these Tuesday, if you want to host on these Tuesday nights, you better watch it with the math there, sir.
I like talking anyway, so I'll just be in the background. You just running my yap, so that's just I'm more than happy to do that.
I think that's Pete. Keep that in the back. That's a great idea.
Yeah,
definitely. Talk about that. Yeah. Kyle, final thoughts.
No, I agree. That's a great Tuesday night show for one of these recap shows. But no, like I said, I've seen her on Twitter, but she's very sharp-minded. She's just an absolute great guest, full of energy. So thank you to Bree again for coming on tonight, and I will definitely be downloading Stable Duel, and she even gave us a promo. So how about that?
Absolutely.
Anyway.
No, it's fantastic. And look, I don't care where people come from, what male, female, blue, green. I want good people in horse racing who are passionate, like all of us, who know what they're talking about and want to grow the game. We've had competing podcast people on. We've had many women on this show. I'm very proud to say that. Young people. We had a college night. I try to expand to everyone, and it can't happen unless all the viewers watch. So really shout out to all of our viewers. We had almost 3,000 people watch our video from this past Saturday. We had 2,500 people live. Then we've had more than 500 people go and check out the show after the fact. So really appreciate that. Quick promos coming up this week, guys. We'll wrap it up because we got a big week. This Thursday night, Pete, Paul, and myself are actually doing two shows, one live and one taped. We're gonna do a tape.
Do we get time and a half or double time?
I'll check with the accounting on that.
Talk to HR. Okay.
Yeah. I'll check with HR on that.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a very short tape show over San Anita's Win and Urine Breeders' Cup races. It will not be a pick 5 video. It will be just on the Breeders' Cup Win and Urine races. It'll be much shorter. And then, guys, I'm really excited to get Jason Blewett on. I've met him several times in person. great guy. I've always been a big fan of his. He's now with West Point Thoroughbreds. He will be with us Thursday at our regular flagship show, 8 p.m. Eastern, to talk about the great Breeders' Cup preps and the late pick 5 in New York. And we'll talk about a horse called Flightline, who I hear is pretty good since West Point has partial ownership of them. Last but not least, I'm very proud to say, I don't know if I've mentioned this really a lot before, but I want to mention it now. The reason why we are not going to have a live show this Saturday is for a very good reason. Myself and the gentleman right below me is competing in a very prestigious handicapping contest. It's called the Hawthorne Invitational. It is 50 of the top handicappers in the entire country, including people that have won the BCBC, the NHC, Hall of Famers. It is an extremely difficult and fun handicapping contest, and Kyle and I have both been invited to be in that. The winner gets a BCBC seat plus cash. And guys, it is live on TV, on YouTube on Saturday. We'll talk more about this Thursday, but if you go to the Hawthorne YouTube channel, again, the Hawthorne YouTube channel, you can watch the contest live. They're going to be interviewing people. Perhaps myself and or Kyle might be interviewed live during the contest on Saturday. Again, to watch it, you need to go to the Hawthorne Racecourse's YouTube channel. Just go to the search bar and type in Hawthorne Racecourse. Kyle, it's going to be very exciting. It's your first, major handicapping contest. Are you nervous, Kyle?
Yeah, a little bit, but we're not going to let that sway. We're going to be aggressive and we're going to go win the thing.
Kyle's my stable duel play. I got you, Kyle. I got you.
I don't know about the we are going to win it. I think only one person can win it, but I'll let you get them in second if you're close. It's all good. For Paul Halloran, Pete Visco, and Kyle Roscoe, this has been your host, Howard Kravitz, episode 182 of a fun HHH racing podcast. Please join us this Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, with Jason Blewett to talk about Aqueduct, and then also check out a taped show about the Santa Anita races that will be out on our YouTube channel and Twitter. Have a great night, everyone. Take care. Good night.